as familiar seemingly, instructors in ACU. I've started to be, Marsha, since he's kind of given me sort of a license to kind of do a bit more deep dive, like kind of put together materials. What I brought up to her was like, we had a day where a younger student saw a picture of Ikeda Sensei with Bill King that's hung in the dojo for years at the Aikikai.
Yep.
And this was after Bill King had passed, so I'd written a little memorial to him. And so one of the young students then said to me, I had no idea who that guy was, like Bill King. And like it kind of shocked me, but then I remember I'm old enough, I remember when Bill used to come to the dojo. And then another student said, I didn't know that was Ikeda Sensei. And then I said, well, how do you not know that's Ikeda Sensei? He comes in, and like, oh, he's so young in that photo, you don't recognize him.
Yep.
And we shouldn't take for granted that the newer students know everyone anymore.
Well, ASU's grown so much, and everybody's getting old or dying of the people who were originally there. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. So this will be really simple, and I'll ask a question, we can answer a little bit.
Sure.
And then I'll just for this first part, because I already got the recording going, if you could just say like, hi, I'm Chuck Weber, I'm the instructor, just fill it in, and so I usually ask people to just say like, hi, name, home dojo, and rank, just as an intro that I'll put at the beginning of the video, and then we'll proceed with the questions.
Okay, so you want me to do that now?
Oh, please.
Hi, I'm Chuck Weber. I am 7th Dan Aikido from Satomi Sensei. I have the dojo in Baltimore, DC, though actually now I'm turning that over to one of my students. There we are. And I've been around a very long time.
So how did you get started in Aikido?
I read a book called Zen Combat by Jay Gluck. I was in the Marines at the time. I was moving to be stationed at Denver, Colorado in a reserve base. I got there and looked around and walked into a dojo and started practicing. It was a Tamiki dojo, of all things. Very nice people. The teacher, actually, Tanaka Sensei, actually is still there, though he's getting rather old. But he was sent there as a businessman for a Japanese corporation that owned a restaurant. So he managed the restaurant and taught Aikido for fun. So there we were. So that was well before Ikeda Sensei moved to Boulder by about 5 years.
So what drew, like, what was appealing at the beginning about Aikido?
It was hard as hell. I mean, it was just really, really hard to do. And it had a lot of movement. I mean, they had judo there, but at the time, this was an old line judo school from the 50s that had been founded by a bunch of Nisei back when there was a strong Nisei population in Denver. And so by the time we got there, there were a few older judo teachers and not much else, some kids, that sort of thing. And so, and then Aikido, so they'd split the mat and Aikido would be on one side. And it was, I mean, I walked in and they were whacking each other with Kendo Shinai, and then they did Aikido, and it was cool stuff. So I wanted to do it.
So what sort of as you kept going, did that feeling stay the same, or did you have did other things come into play that kind of motivated you to stay with it for the long haul?
Well, that was all a choice I had to make, right? Back then in Denver, there were a couple of dojos with third cues and this dojo with a fifth dan, but the other dojos were more orthodox. They weren't Tamiki. So early on, I mean, it was 2 days a week, and then it was a big deal. We got 3 days. We had to clean the dojo to get the third day. And through the years, I was trying to just get get out of the Marines, go to school, et cetera, right? And then first Ikeda Sensei came to town. Homa Sensei came to town in Denver, right? So I got a broader horizon of what Aikido could be, right? And then through Ikeda Sensei, I met Sensei, and then I tried going back to school, but I spent all my time doing Aikido. So I said the hell with that, and I just figured out where I was going to move. And I had a couple paths to Japan, and then of course I'd read about all the teachers in the U.S., but I'd met Sensei, and so I figured, I guess I'll move to Sensei. So I did. So he was in D.C., I was in Denver, so I drove across country and stayed in the dojo for a while here in Tacoma Park, and then managed to make enough money to move out of the dojo, and there we were. And then a year and a half later, Sensei said, "Chuck, you're moving to Chicago with me because we have to do a Budokan, Kevin Choate." So that was funny in a bitter way. Basically, we got no beginners at all in the year and a half I was there. Yeah. So it was a horrible experience. Coming back to DC was just amazing. I mean, Kevin Choate was extremely good. The people were nice to me, but the dojo was very divisive. So Kevin was difficult to get along with on a day-to-day basis for most people.
Mhm.
Even though he and I had, very much, he was like my big brother, So in Aikido, but that's of course because I was following, his path of being a deshi, right? So that relationship was a little different. So one day Sensei came in and said, "We're done, move back."
Um, what was Saotome Sensei like in those? What was Saotome Sensei like in those early days for you?
I have videos where you can see him. He'll use me once and shake his head and not use me again. So I was told later on, and it made sense by another guy who's passed, that Sensei had said he was going to try and teach people the way Sensei taught him, which meant very little explanation. The good part about the early days was classes were small, and so he would make an effort to touch every single person. And of course his health issues weren't as, it was very much a warm, familial atmosphere right around him, albeit with too much beer. So off the mat, on the mat, he was pretty unforgiving. He would touch everybody once, and after that, if you didn't get with the program, too bad. That was your fault. So with the seniors, well, we weren't all that senior then, Shodan or Nidan. But that was just how it was. On the mat, buddy, like he said to me once, "You're not a puppy dog, you're a professional. Why are you being happy out there?" So funny business. On the other hand, he saw that I was not a great uke. With Kevin, you could see Kevin react, or Don Mock, which was another great uke, or Rosso for that matter, which is another great uke, right? They reacted in real time as Sensei did whatever he did with hands. I could do that with weapons. I did not do that with hands. There's some difference in my psychology or my feeling of security with a weapon compared to hands, right? So whereas those guys had more trouble on the weapon side, it's just people are different and they have to struggle to overcome, not be too happy with what you're good at and overcome what you're bad at, right?
Hmm.
Human condition, more or less. So essentially, once you got on the train, for the few people that really would just do anything to become good, you were on the train, baby.
Hmm.
You'd get your time, and if Kevin came in for seminar, since they would touch everybody, then Kevin would get the seminar. He would be uke, period. If in DC Dojo, since they would touch everybody in first class, then Don Mock would be uke. Second class would be weapons, I'd be uke. Done. And that's all, direct personal teaching with no talking. The only talking is, you screwed up, buddy. He's not looking at you anymore. So, or he'd say something staring at somebody else, and you were supposed to realize, yeah, he wasn't telling somebody else they're an idiot. He's telling you, which of course we didn't usually realize. So then it was very much, you didn't know what was going to happen in each class, and you just tried to keep up. So Kevin's way was arguably better in a number of ways, because Kevin would get all this attention from the seminar, then he'd go home for a month and work on it. Whereas for me, I didn't have much time to actually think about things until he sent me to Baltimore.
Okay.
Because he does something different every day. You want 49 ways to do Ikkyo. So unbelievably, he says, Chuck, this person, Honora Sullivan, will introduce you to people at Baltimore. They need a dojo. You need to be the sensei because Charlie Page doesn't want to be the sensei. Okay. So come out after class. Chuck, here's Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, Yonkyo. That's 9 years after I moved there. Right. That's 5 years or 6 years after I'd been teaching the morning class 5 days a week. And then he's saying, here's Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, Yonkyo. Because he would teach 40 million ways. It's like do you want to do sumo? Do you want to do spear? Do you want to do Thai kickboxing? Because I watched it last night in the movies,
So how was so like after all overall these years, like how was Aikido sort of changed for you, or like what's it, if you had to talk about what it's about now for you?
Okay, so for me, there's a complicated mix, right? So on one hand, look at what we did in ASU and think that there are things we should be doing better, or we should have done better, and now we should figure out how to change to be better, right? So there's that. There's what do I can look back and see all I can look at these movies and hear Sensei talking and think, oh shit, why didn't I listen then? Then now, of course, what is my Aikido about? Well, how do I coordinate my body and my mind, with, of course, reduced physical capabilities, right? Hello. You get old, you can't do kip ups from your back or your front. You can't turn over in midair and land on your feet. Sorry. You're not as fast with your sword. Too bad, right? Age does occur. So how do you utilize your whole being to be present where you are and in effect provide gravity that affects the other person to allow you to do what you want to do? And then of course have the ability to be peaceful or violent or anywhere in between, right? I mean, it's a rheostat, not a switch. And out of all that, produce something that has beauty. There you go. Do that, you're pretty good Aikido. But of course, that's just a verbal statement which does not actually touch the reality inside you and me, right? Because, verbalization, there's a reason why, you know, amazing poets and novelists and painters are amazing, right? Because they can somehow bring out some of that inner reality, but most of us, it's a struggle, right? Oftentimes we say things that might be wrong for you, might be wrong for me. So there you go. So how can we do that? How can I help other people do that to some limited degree, right? Because obviously art isn't done. You don't help somebody do art in a significant way. You more or less help them find a path and get out of their way if they want the path, and they may not. So
Okay. So so we're trying on the subject of seminars, and particularly kind of like our younger and some of our newer people, because we've kind of got some nice new group coming in here. Um, like if you like to sort of sum up like a little bit of advice for like kind of newer folks who or even more experienced folks, like what's to look forward to, like what you should be kind of paying attention to. Because even myself, like with our new folks, sometimes I don't know. I'm feeling like it's important to tell them what to look out for now, so they realize it's not just like a regular class; it's kind of a special opportunity.
okay, well, let's look at learning theory first, right? So you're trying to learn something, whatever it may be, right? Most of the time, I mean, I've known people who have ways around this, but most people do the whole learning plateau. You go up, you feel like you're plateauing for a while, then you go up, and of course, some part of that is experiential. It may or may not be really true, right? You're clearly accruing experience in some way, but your perception of where you're learning may not be true. Okay, so there you are, you're a person, you want to learn something. So obviously, you go to class, you go home. Maybe you go to class, you go home. The night you don't go to class, maybe you think about it, or maybe you look at video, or maybe you do a private practice. Whether it could be you know body exercises, weapons exercises, meditation, breathing, what have you, right? Okay, so all of those factor in to how you're learning. Obviously, to some point, more time learning learns faster. But equally obviously, it's not a straight line increase, right? It's going to be a curve to a line, and at some point, more time does not necessarily equal more learning. And of course, with any of this, you can do like we did and learn as many bad habits as you learn good, right? Which is, another human condition, I suppose, right? Always learn the wrong lesson. So, okay, so now you say, well, I've got a special seminar. What's good about that? Well, okay, one part of human learning is we essentially try to make habits to shortcut to success. Okay, so that's fine, but what if it's the wrong habits? And how do you even figure out if it's a wrong habit if in your own dojo everybody's reinforcing that particular habit, or amongst your friends, right? Because often you'll have a cohort, right? In your dojo, not the whole dojo, just your cohort that you always practice with, and you chat with, and you bounce ideas off. Okay, so obviously a seminar will bring in outsiders and have an outsider instructor who also has they all have their own habits that are maybe not so correct too, obviously, right? As well, but they also have an outside perspective, which can break up your perspective. So in reality, the learning is still your job. Each person has their path, they're pursuing their path, whether it's a little Aikido or a lot of Aikido or no Aikido, right? They're still their path. So I'm entirely an advocate of each person taking responsibility for observing and cherry picking unique ideas, possibilities, particularly from people they don't normally see. And then going home and saying, okay, what the hell did that really mean? Right? And you always have to be brutally honest with yourself, right? Because it might be a bad idea, right? You might not have, it might be a good idea, but you didn't understand it. Or it might be a great idea for you at this time. How do you know? And so you know by trying. So seminars are a way socially for ASU as a whole to be more than just a dojo. From a learning perspective, they're a way to get outside ideas and taste them and see if you like them. And you don't have to like them. They might be wrong. They might be right, but wrong for you now, right? You might have a different path. I mean, we had a very talented person who was raised a Quaker. So obviously he didn't want to learn how to hit somebody harder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what? I mean, right? Sensei still quite respected his Aikido. See, so in this array of paths, seminars are one more tool. That's all it is. One more tool that you can come in and find ideas. And as you get more senior, you understand how precious new ideas are. I mean, when you walk in the dojo, I mean, they're all new ideas. I've got to stand like what? And walk? What the hell? And what do you mean, loosen my shoulders? No, that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, not now. So there you go. You come in, if you can find one or two or five, but realistically, it's hard to process more than a couple new ideas at once. So now, of course, also there's the excitement. The first time you go to a seminar, you're like, I remember, I'd go out and swing a sword the whole week before, every morning, just like, there's going to be a seminar this weekend. There'll be these guys from Japan. I've never seen them before. Holy cow. So, but that wears off over time, right? You don't have that same excitement 2 years in or 5 years in or, much less 30 or 40 years in. Okay. So how does each person pursue their path, and in pursuing their path, be emotionally and mentally open to finding new perspectives, new ideas that are possibly wrong? And you taste it and try it. Does it work or not? Does it help you? There you go. And by the way, have fun and meet a bunch of people.
Thanks. That's actually it was interesting that because I was just talking with Marcia Sensei about some of our we were just kind of evaluating some new guys coming up for tests, and she was talking about the people who they're showing potential, but they're in that I wouldn't say a rut. They're in that
Yep.
They're insistent like, oh, this is the right way to do it, and we're like, well, you're not wrong, but you're not wholly right either.
Yep. Well, we were talking about this actually just last night in an examination committee meeting where for ASU level, and where George got tired, so they decided I was going to be the seventh on there. So whatever. But it was interesting because another person was bringing up all the things that Kihon really should be, but usually it's not, right? And then I had to point out that, well, but in fact, most of these arts, the way they're taught, they do have a physically regimented form that people follow, and it actually seems to work as long as you at some point allow them to come out of the regimentation, you know. But it's a convenient way. Otherwise, all these arts wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
You know, so there's always that struggle. How do you get them to stand up straight, walk nicely, bend their knees, and do a rote technique, but then also sometime keep growing past that? So that, good luck. You know, that's part of your job now, is to figure that out.
Great, great. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, that's yeah, this is really great. This, so yeah, I just wanted like short half-hour chat, and you know, the past time said it usually gets whittled down to like 5 minutes that we like, you know, share with the students, and I think
Sure,
great people
whatever you want.
really enjoy it, I think.
Okay.
So thank you very much for taking the time on your schedule. I know, you have plenty to do, so.
No, I'm retired.
Oh.
So.
You are
Okay.
busy.
There
So,
you go. I appreciate it.
okay, thank you. So I look forward to seeing you in September.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.